as Cam said earlier, everything that they need in the locker room to improve, to get better, everything that they need is in the locker room to improve and get better. Well, what is in that locker room? When you look at that roster, they might not have a guy on the offense that can go start for anywhere else in the league. Defensively, you might have two guys. That's Devin McCourty and that's Stephon Gilmore. So of 22 starters, you might have two guys that can go somewhere else and start. And then I'm supposed to believe all of a sudden, Skip, at the end of the day, having played this game for 14 years, talking about we need to play better and yada, 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 that don't do anything. At the end of the day, you got to play better. And Cam has not played well. And when you throw 0 touchdowns and you got 5 interceptions and your defense is not 85 Bears, 2,000 Ravens, 0-2 Bucks, Skip, you're going to lose. You're going to lose those games because your offense is already putting your defense on a short field, and your defense isn't lights out like they were the first half of last year when they were giving up fewer than 8 points a game. So I expect them to struggle again. Now, could Coach Belichick dial up something, confuse Josh Allen? Because Josh Allen has come somewhat back down to earth. He's still playing well, but not like he was in the first 4 weeks of the season. But, Skip, I just don't see it, Skip. When I look at this roster and I look at this team, I'm like, how in the hell are they going to get better with what they have that's in that locker room? I mean, you keep hearing, well, he might trade for this guy, he might trade for that guy. They're more than one player away on offense or defense to get them to where they need to be or where they want to be. So I believe they will struggle again in Buffalo.
Unfortunately, so do I. Shannon, I'm feeling sorrier and sorrier for Cam Newton. He's in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I look at what he's left with at receiver at Buffalo against your arch rival within the division, the team I thought would win the division, a game that now Cam calls must win as they've fallen to 2-4. And do you realize his 3 receivers still healthy, who are going to be in the starting lineup, I guess, are Jacoby Myers, undrafted out of North Carolina State, Damiere Byrd, who they picked up from Arizona, undrafted out of South Carolina, and Gunnar Olszewski. I'm pretty sure Gunner's going to have to play high plays in this game as the 3rd receiver, who was undrafted out of Bemidji State, which is a D2 school up in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Gunner. That's what you're working with. 3 undrafted receivers because Julian Edelman, broken down, beat up. Now he's got to have some kind of scope on his knee. He led the league in drops last year. He was Brady's best friend and worst nightmare all last year. And trust me, down in Tampa right now, Tom is shaking his head and having empathy for Cam because nobody knows better how bad it's gotten in New England, how bare the cupboard is, than Tom Brady. This is embarrassing. And yet Cam gives great press conference. He took that one over yesterday. I loved everything he said. It's highly entertaining because he has huge personality. But his quote about when he was asked about losing, losing is not acceptable in this locker room, in this county, in this state, in this area, in this region. So Cameron Newton, you need to pick your expletive up. That's what I've learned, okay? I loved it. It was a great quote. Everything he said he got humbled by being tapped on the shoulder by Belichick and replaced in the 4th quarter by Jarrett Stidham. And yet, he says, I try to stay positive and speak it into existence. I don't think you can speak this one into existence because, Shannon, look at the tight ends. Look what Brady's doing with Gronk in Tampa. All of a sudden, Gronk's come back to GOAT life. And now look what Gronk's done. He's caught 22 balls for 280 yards and 2 touchdowns. All of the Patriot tight ends combined have caught 8 balls for 88 yards and no touchdowns. And Belichick went out in the 3rd round in this past draft and drafted 2 tight ends, one of them a rookie named Dalton Keene from Virginia Tech, who finally got in a game last week. That was his first game, and he did catch the 1 ball that was thrown to him. That's it. That's all your production. They have the worst tight end production, as they did last year, in the whole league. They've caught a grand total of 13 passes as tight ends. How can you win with that? Belichick has let this go from bad to worst. And the guy who's paying for it is Cam. And Shannon, isn't this a microcosm of Cam's career? Because remember those first 2 games he played as a pro, coming out of Auburn, national champ, Heisman winner, even won a championship at Blinn Junior College in Texas. And here he comes into pro football, and I thought he was going to take the world over. He throws for 422 at Arizona in his first pro game, and then came home to throw for 432 against Aaron Rodgers in Charlotte, obviously, for Carolina. And after that, he never sniffed a 400-yard game since. And he's had very few 300-yard games. And how did he start off in New England this year? Well, the first game against Miami, he took it over mostly with his legs because he ran 15 times for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then he goes to Seattle and throws for almost 400 yards, 397, and ran 11 times for 47 more, 2 touchdowns. And as you know, it went down to the last play, and if he just bounced it outside, they would have pulled off the big upset on a Sunday night at Seattle.
Correct.
Okay? And that was it. And then the last 3 games, Cam has 1 touchdown to 6 interceptions. So it sort of mirrored his career a little bit, that his QBR of the last 3 has been 15, an average of 15, which is scale 0 to 100, woeful.
It's horrible.
Yeah, and it's the worst in all of pro football over the last 3 games. Well, am I condemning Cam for that? I'm not. You can only do so much with what you have to work with, and it's like he's playing with both hands tied behind his back in New England, as Brady felt like he was much of last year. So,
Even Skip,
go ahead.
Your brother's a chef.
Yeah.
Even the best chef needs the proper ingredients to make a nice meal.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he can make us whip up something, but sooner or later you're like, you know what? I just don't have what it takes. And then Cam looks back and he sees what he left in Carolina. He sees Samuel. He sees DJ Moore. They got Mike Davis.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey is coming back. He's like, man.
Agreed.
Look what I had and look what I have.
Yep, I agree.
And Skip, like I said, I don't see how, looking at this roster, and I know what Cam said. Cam says we have everything we need in the locker room. To do what? To win no more games?
And by the way, speaking of my brother, I just wish this pandemic would start to subside so he could reopen all his restaurants full force, because this is rough on restaurateurs right now, as you know.
Especially, Skip, in Chicago, because you can't be outside.
No.
You can't be outside now.
Outside is ended. Yep.
Yeah. At least in California and Florida and some of the warm weather states, you could open up, have patios.
A little
ain't no
bit.
Ain't no patio going on in Chicago.
No, Chicago's summer, and I lived there for a while. It lasts about 2.5 months, so summer's way over there. So in the end, I got Buffalo winning this game 24-10 because I don't know how Cam's going to score many points.
I agree with you, Skip. I don't see how they win this ball game either. I'll go a little more. I'm gonna say 27. I'm gonna say 27-13.
Okay.
All right, well, we're moving on to some exciting news, because this weekend, Tua time finally begins in Miami.